I would just start narrating a few minutes early so the band itself could start on the hour. The reason I wanted to start speaking is because we are a tribute band for the bands that used to play in the internment camps during World War II. And the Minidoka Swing Band was formed in 2007 by Robbie Tsuboi, who was the leader of the youth organization Unite People, a portion of JACL, which is the Japanese American Citizens League. And our bass player over there, Michael Lloyd, he was actually one of the youth leaders, and he played with us that first year that we were in existence. And I'm so happy he came back to join us again. And the youth band was meant to teach about the internment era through the music of the 1930s and the 1940s. Minidoka, which was also at first known as Hunt Camp, is in Jerome, Idaho, which is 30 miles north of Twin Falls, Idaho, so kind of near the center of the state. It consisted of 33,000 acres, but all the buildings in the camp were on 946 acres. There were 44 blocks and 12 barracks per block. So every barrack was 120 feet by 20 feet and had 6 apartments, which essentially all the apartments were 20 feet by 20 feet. And in them, they would have up to 6 people in a family into those blocks. They built the barracks out of green wood because they had to slap them up so fast. And because of that, the wood shrank. And there's tar paper on the outside, but when the wind blew, it had very fine dust, and it would cover everything. I understand it was a very dusty place. The peak population of the Japanese Americans interned there was 9,397 internees, which made it at that time the 7th largest city in Idaho. So the camp was opened in August of 1942, and it closed in October 28th, 1945. And in the audience, we have Julia Tokiwa, who actually was an internee at Minidoka. So, hi, Julia. So, a friend of ours named Janice Okamoto, she would talk to a songwriter, and his name was Richard March. And she would tell him the stories about Minidoka and how her father was a musician. He loved to play. And he formed a band at Minidoka. They called it the Norakuro Band. Norakuro was a cartoon character in Japan, very similar to Mickey Mouse. And Henry and his brother Roy, I believe Henry played piano and Roy played trumpet, but they had a harmonica band because they took whatever instruments people happened to bring to camp. So there were mandolins and there were harmonicas, there were I think a saxophone, and whatever they could get their hands on. And so it inspired Richard March to write the song, the Minidoka Swing Band, which he wrote just for our band. And it was arranged by Kokichi Tagawa, who was our bass player, but who moved back to Japan probably about 10 years ago. So the Minidoka Swing Band will be sung by Andy Strike. So take it away, Andy.
About a while ago, it happened way out in Idaho. A saxophone wailing to a swinging beat. It's the kind of music makes you move your feet. Henry and Roy are up on the stand. Dance to the Minidoka Swing Band.
1, 2, 3, 4.
In swing band for miles away. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andy. And then we had soloists Aaron Gallant on the alto saxophone. And Jim Wake on the trumpet. So we'll now take you on a sentimental journey. And it's not always a happy one, but it's about the resilience of people faced with discrimination and injustice, but overcoming both to live their lives successfully. Sentimental Journey, it was published in 1944, was a late World War II hit by the Les Brown Band and recorded by Doris Day. It first charted on March 29, 1945, and spent 27 weeks on the Billboard charts, peaking at #1. Its release coincided with victory in Europe, which was around May 8, 1945, and became the unofficial homecoming theme for many veterans. Written by Les Brown and Ben Homer, Ben Homer's son, Rick Homer, used to be a member of our band, and he was our soloing trumpet in the early years of Minidoka Swing Band. So we have a special attachment to this song. Rich would say he still got royalties from this song, and Doris Day had been his babysitter. Sentimental Journey. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Sentimental journey to renew old memories. I got my bags, got my reservations, spent each dime I could afford. Like a child in wild anticipation, I long to hear that all aboard. 7, that's the time we leave at 7. I'll be waiting up for heaven, counting every mile of railroad track that takes me back. I never thought my heart would be so yearning. Why did I decide to roam? Gonna take that sentimental journey, sentimental journey home. Sentimental journey. Thank you. We have a female singer in this band, and she was unable to make it today. So you had to go with second best this today. Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about lives of the Japanese Americans. By 1941, at the beginning, when Pearl Harbor happened, most Japanese Americans had been here since about 1924 or earlier, since immigration from Asia was cut off with the 1924 Immigration Act. The first generation from Japan were called the Issei. The second generation, their children, were called Nisei, and 2/3 of the people in camps were Nisei, or American citizens. December 7th, 1921, my grandparents married in Hiroshima and came to San Francisco, California, January 15th, 1922. In fact, my grandmother turned 18 on the boat, and in the US worked hard on an Auburn, California farm. And they survived their house burning down. She gave birth to 5 children and 1 stillborn child. She almost died from a ruptured appendix. But the only time my mother ever saw my grandmother with tears in her eyes was on my grandmother's 20th wedding anniversary, December 7th, 1941, the day Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. In February of 1942, FBI came and took my grandfather away. The FBI took community leaders, businessmen, and ministers in order to weaken the Japanese American community. Didn't know why my grandfather was taken, but he had studied the martial art, Kendo, earlier. Anyone have heard of Kendo? They have like swords. It sort of looks like lightsaber fighting in Star Wars. And a book was published about his teacher. Later, they found out that all the students listed in that book were taken by the FBI. My grandmother was 38 years old and had been in the United States longer than she was in Japan. She didn't speak English, 5 kids from 3 to 18, a new car she couldn't drive, and a farm to take care of. She must have asked herself, what'll I do? That's our next song, the 1923 Irving Berlin song featuring Todd Yuzuriha on flugelhorn.
1, 2, 3, 1, ready, go.
How many of you have seen a flugelhorn before? Oh, you have? So it's a horn that's in the same key as a trumpet, but because of how it's built, it has a mellower tone. So that was a flugelhorn. And that was my husband, Todd. Thank you, Todd. On February 19th, 1942, Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which gave the military the power to imprison anyone they deemed to be a threat. The War Relocation Authority was established, and they made military exclusion zones. And over 95% of the Japanese American population lived within that zone of exclusion. It was in parts of 4 states and the entire West Coast. So in the camps, they had imprisoned approximately 120,000 Japanese Americans. How many of you out there know somebody who was imprisoned there? Yeah, there's a good chance you would know someone because it was pretty common among the Japanese Americans. The Japanese Americans must have worried night and day what would happen to them. Some of them tried to move east, only to find that they were not welcome in any of the communities and were forced to stay on the West Coast. Night and Day is a song by Cole Porter, written in 1932. This version was actually sung by Frank Sinatra in 1956, and Andy will sing it for us, Night and Day.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Night and day, you are the one. Only you need the moon or under the sun. Whether near to me, far. It's no matter, darling, where you are, I think of you. Day and night and day. Why is it so that this longing for you follows wherever I go? In the roaring traffic's boom, the silence of my lonely room, I think of you. Day and night and day, under the hide of me, there's an oh such a hungry yearning burning inside of me. And its torment won't be through till you let me spend my life making love to you day and night, night and day. Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon or under the sun. Whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are, I think of you. Day and night and day. Why is it so that this longing for you follows wherever I go?
Sandy. So that arrangement was arranged by Nelson Riddle. So I don't know if you know very many arrangers in that era, but he was very famous and did a lot with Frank Sinatra. Many Japanese Americans, either voluntarily or by draft, served in the U.S. military, forming the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, which merged with the 100th Battalion, made up of Japanese Americans from Hawaii. The 442nd and the 100th Battalion became the most decorated fighting unit in American history for its size and duration of service. The Japanese Americans fought as if they had something to prove about their loyalty, even though their families were imprisoned in camps. Go for broke was their motto. Japanese Americans also served in military intelligence, where their language skills were valuable. In all, 33,000 Japanese Americans served in the military during World War II. And Julia Tokiwa back there, her late husband Yosh, was a member of the 442nd. So we really appreciate those guys. Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy was written in 1941 and introduced by the Andrews sisters in Abbott and Costello's movie Buck Private. And we will play this song to honor all of those who served in the military.
Two. One, two, three.
Thank you, and that solo, the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, at the beginning was played by Todd, and in the solo in the middle of the song was played by Jim Waite. All the Issei, the first generation Japanese Americans, arrived by ship, a trip that took about 3 weeks in 1920. Early airline travel was uncomfortable, noisy, non-pressurized, and very expensive, so they couldn't fly very high. However, American airline industry expanded rapidly from carrying 6,000 passengers in 1929 to 450,000 passengers in 1934 to over 1.2 million passengers in 1938. By 1955, for the first time, more people in the US traveled by plane rather than by train. And by 1957, planes had replaced ocean liners as the preferred method of travel over the Atlantic. Come Fly With Me, 1958, was written by Jimmy Van Heusen and Sammy Cahn for Frank Sinatra for his album of the same name. And Andy will again sing Frank Sinatra's Come Fly With Me.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and.
Come fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Come fly with me, we'll float down to in La La Land. There's a one-man band and he'll tune his flute for you. Come on, fly with me, we'll check out in the moon. Once I get you up there, where the air is rarefied, we'll just glide, starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear all the angels cheer, 'cause we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. You just say the words and we'll beat those birds down to Bugle Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon. They say, come fly with me, let's fly away. Once I get you up there, where the air is so rarefied, we'll just glide, absolutely petrified. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so very near. You might hear a gang of angels cheer just because we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a cuckoo day. You just say the words and we'll beat those birds down to Bugle Bay. See, it's perfect for a flying honeymoon. They say, come on, fly with me, let's fly, let's fly. Wake up, let's fly away.
Thank you very much, Andy. The Japanese Americans were first put into assembly centers until the 10 permanent camps were built. The assembly center for the Portland Japanese Americans was the Portland Expo Center, and it was open from May 2nd to September 10th, 1942. It was temporary holding for the Japanese Americans, and many lived in livestock stalls, still reeking of manure. From Portland and southern Washington, the Portland Expo Center held 3,676 Japanese Americans, and 2/3 of them were American citizens. The 10 permanent camps, like Minidoka, were hastily put together and some of them were incomplete when the Japanese Americans arrived in August and September of 1942. Latrines were communal and were just rows of toilets on cement slabs, one room for men and one room for women. The lack of privacy was appalling to this culturally modest group. They had to put up makeshift dividers of cardboard or blankets until more permanent dividers could be built by the inmates themselves. One 20 by 20 room per family in barracks that had only a light bulb and a pot-bellied stove, along with bed frames where they could put mattresses that were filled with hay. The walls between the rooms didn't even reach the ceiling, so you could hear all the noise up and down. They longed for privacy, and so our next song is I'm Getting Sentimental Over You, 1932. It was recorded by Tommy Dorsey's orchestra in 1935. And our Tommy Dorsey is Todd Ochita here on trombone.
Hey.
Thank you very much, Todd. And that also was, had a solo played by the second Todd in our band. We have Todd squared on there. Todd, you said he had played the trumpet solo. So even though the Japanese Americans cleared the fields behind Minidoka and worked to grow and raise much of what they ate, it was expensive to house so many people. So in early 1943, the military decided to make all inmates fill out a loyalty questionnaire, and 2 questions caused confusion, upheaval, and division. Number 27, are you willing to serve in the US military? And number 28, are you willing to swear allegiance to the US and forswear any allegiance to the Emperor of Japan? And keep in mind that the Issei's, the first generation, were not allowed to become citizens. So if they forswore their allegiance, they would have no country that they were a citizen of. This was intended to separate the loyal from the disloyal, but there were many reasons to answer one way or the other. Those that answered no to these 2 questions were moved to Tule Lake internment camp, which was on the California-Oregon border near Klamath Falls. Security at the other camps became less stringent, and the inmates were allowed out of the camp to work in farming camps or to go to school back east. Things were looking up. So our next song is Blue Skies, the 1926 Irving Berlin, and it's a song of sunny optimism, even though ironically it's in a minor key, sung by Andy Strike. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go.
Noticing the days Thank you.
Nice job, Andy. And that was an opportunity to hear what different instruments sounded like. In the solo section, we had Todd Yuzuriha on trumpet, and we had Aaron Gallant on alto saxophone, and immediately after him, there was Alan Merwine on tenor sax, so you could hear the difference between the two saxes. And Eric Olson played the trombone solo lastly. The Minidoka camp did actually have a swing band. The Mikados of Swing were a Nisei, or second generation Japanese American group of young boys who formed a band in Seattle, Washington, and toured Washington, Oregon, and California in the summer of 1941, where they were held in acclaim among the Japanese American community. When the Seattle Japanese Americans were moved to their assembly center at the Puyallup Fairgrounds, practically the entire band moved there, where they changed their name to the more politically correct Harmoniers, since the Japanese Americans imprisoned there had dubbed that location Camp Harmony. When the population was moved to Minidoka, the band continued to practice and even played at proms for high schools in Twin Falls and Filer, where they were taken to and from by armed guards. They probably played songs that were popular of the day, like Little Brown Jug, which is a 1939 million seller single by Glenn Miller and his orchestra, and his first hit. So that's Little Brown Jug. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. much. And I guess the soloists were our first tenor, Alan Merwine. Yeah. And Jim Waite, he's back there, so I can't tell who's playing there. So, Jim Waite on trumpet, and Ken Peasley on trombone. To give the young people an opportunity for socialization, often dances were held in the mess hall on Saturday nights for entertainment and recreation. Imagine dressing up in your best and going to the dance on the weekend and meeting other young people, even though you're imprisoned. The Way You Look Tonight, 1936, was first sung in the movie Swing Time by Fred Astaire. This version we'll be playing today was sung by Frank Sinatra in 1964 and sung by Andy Strike.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and
someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Yes, you're lovely, with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft. There is nothing for me but to love you and the way you look tonight. With each word, your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And that laugh wrinkles your nose, touches my foolish heart. Lovely, never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you and the way you look tonight.
father-in-law would say, he was interned in Minidoka, and he would say that at the dances, by the end of their stay at Minidoka, the music was played on a record player, mostly. And the last song of every dance was Moonlight Serenade by Glenn Miller's orchestra, 1939 swing ballad, which will feature our first alto, who plays clarinet also, Aaron Gallant. Moonlight Serenade. Minidoka Swing Band is an all-volunteer band. And so I wanted to introduce our volunteers to you today because they work very hard and some come from very far in order to play with us. So on first alto is Aaron Gallant. And you just heard him on clarinet, which is clarinet was a metal clarinet that was of the era of World War II. So,
Where does he live?
and he's from Vancouver, Hazeldale, right? Vancouver, Washington. Scott Hornstein on second alto saxophone, and he's also from Vancouver, Washington. Alan Merwine on his first tenor, and he's from Vancouver, Washington. And Steve Hornstein on second tenor.
Guess where?
Guess where he lives? Vancouver, Washington. And me, Elaine Yusuriha on Barry sax, and I live over here in Fisher's Landing, but that's Vancouver, Washington. And my husband Todd on first trumpet, from Vancouver, Washington. Jim Waite on second trumpet, and he also lives in Vancouver, Washington. Oh my goodness. And Terry Baxter, he's been a long-time member on third trumpet, and he used to live in Wilsonville, but now he lives in Vancouver, Washington, so he got smart. And Ryan Propsfeld just lives down the street from Todd and me, and he's from Vancouver, Washington.
100%. Wow.
Todd Ochita on first trombone, and he lives in Cornelius, Oregon, so he came really far. Eric Olson on second trombone, and he lives in North Portland, kind of near where the St. John's Bridge is. And Ken Peasley on third trombone, and he lives in Boring, Oregon. And Morgan Dickerson on fourth trombone, and he comes from Happy Valley, so he's a happy guy. Doug Katagiri on guitar, he's also one of the original members with Todd and me of this band, and he's from Beaverton. Michael Loy on bass, we introduced him before, he's the youngest one in our band today, and he lives kind of near Lewis and Clark area of Portland. And Lonnie Doy on piano, and he also lives in inner southeast Portland, as does Larry Bickneys, who's our percussionist. So those two kind of live close together. And our vocalist, Andy Strike, who hails from Camas, Washington. And he will sing our next song. The war was over on September 2nd, 1945, after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan in August, which affected my relatives who are from Hiroshima. The last camp closed on March 20th of 1946. Despite the incarceration of the Japanese Americans, many put the experience behind them and went on with their lives with optimism. Indeed, most Sanseis, which are third generation, say that their Nisei parents almost never mentioned their wartime experiences, preferring to concentrate on the future. Our next song is a lovely song called What a Wonderful World. It was recorded in 1967 by Louis Armstrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
1, 2.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was the first time we've ever played it in front of anybody. And that's the first time I heard him do Louis Armstrong. He does a mean Elvis Presley too. So our final song is, what other song could be, attached to the World War II era, but In the Mood, based on 1930s Tar Paper Stomp. It was recorded in 1939 by the Glenn Miller Orchestra, becoming one of the most popular and historically significant songs of the 20th century. In the Mood. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
being here today.